Welcome, welcome, welcome to this episode of Vision Alignment, where we all understand that we all have blindness in our lives. So when we understand we have blindness, we begin to understand how important it is to know our vision. And once we know our vision, it's important also to understand how that vision is aligned with our core beliefs, our core values, and our core strengths. So there's someone that I'm going to bring on today, and he's been on the show before, but he's going to come back on and just deliver more value, more of what we're all talking about in terms of our vision. But without any further ado, I want to introduce my friend. Actually, before I do that, let me just pose this question to you, and I'll pose this question to him as well. What is your first recollection of knowing your vision? Good morning, Dave. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Brian. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Joyful, man. I'm joyful.
Joyful. That's a good one. That's good. So answer the question for me, will you, Dave? When is your first recollection of knowing your vision?
You know, that's actually not so simple a question, because I think there are people who have a clear vision for their lives early on. Something happened in their lives where they went, wow, this is where I'm aiming. We saw that wonderful youth poet laureate at the inauguration earlier this week, Amanda Gorman. Blew everybody away.
That's amazing.
Was 22 years old and has overcame a speech impediment through spoken word. And so she had a vision early on what she wanted to do with spoken word. And she also saw that, wow, I think that the confidence that she built, that then her vision enlarged, and she is someone who has aspirations to occupy the White House as a president one day. And she's already got, what was her, she said she's got her hashtag for it, Amanda or something like that.
Yeah, I love that. She made it part of her speech, so that was very cool, or the poem. Yeah.
And so I think it's wonderful when somebody has a clear vision early on. They know exactly what they feel pulled, or something has happened in their lives. And I've never had this one moment of just clarity. For me, I've always found the path has diverged. I've been going one direction and thinking, oh, this is it. And then the vision had to shift through experience and through just the journey. I remember the first time that I was in grade school, and something I did made the classmates and the teacher laugh, and I went, oh, I think I'm onto something, and I wanted to do that. So I thought, man, I want to do comedy. And so that I really thought would be something that I would do, but I don't know that I thought, well, that'll be my career, but I knew I wanted to pursue that in some way. And then when I was in college, I was enjoying learning lots of different things, but I had to make a decision. What are you going to do? You got to pick a major. You got to settle on something. And I thought, you know what? I tried out, just as part of my buffet of learning, I tried out what's called a freshman early experience program in education. Went into the classroom and, not really a student teacher, but got to be in the classroom. And I thought, man, I like this. I like the give and take. I like the energy. There was so much that I loved about school, and so much that I didn't, but so much that I loved about school that learning was exciting. And I thought, I wonder if, I can make that exciting for someone else. So that's what I did for a number of years. And then the opportunity came up to do stand-up comedy. And I thought, well, do I have to choose between these two? Because I like doing both. I like the immediacy of that emotional response to the audience and just making them laugh. man, I love it when kids, I see them grow and they, something that I've participated in has helped them get to somewhere else. And then there was the moment when you've had Phil Sorrentino on there, and we were on the radio together doing our little thing. And I was doing the funny part. He was doing his motivational stuff. And he presented to me, why don't you do this? And I thought, my gosh, this is really, when I began to take advantage of that opportunity that he gave me, I saw that, wow, this is everything in my life has been about two questions. How do we learn? Why do we laugh? And I realized here's something that is really about both of those, that laughter can be a way to help people learn really important things. And I think probably if I had to point to one moment, that would be it. But I think the journey along that is what happened in elementary school, and then what happened when I was forced to choose a major, and then what happened when I was, took the stage for the first time doing comedy, and then what happened in the radio station and I thought it's almost like one path. You think, well, this is it, and I know where I'm going to end up, and then there's this fork, and you go like, oh no, I'm heading this direction. And so I don't know. I mean, is this it? I don't know. I'm a man of a certain age. So, it's easy to think, well, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But I think it's important to hold open the possibility there might be another fork, right? And we just don't know. So I think, the vision, not only do we have a vision that becomes clear, but it becomes clear in moments. And on the journey, on the path, it doesn't happen all at once for everybody. It has not happened that way for me. And I'm sure that that's probably true for a lot of other folks too.
Well, the poet laureate, Amanda, I think her name was, right? She really seems to know her path, but yeah, even her path may change.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She thinks, well, this is, what's the biggest dream she can dream? Being president. But we think that until we meet, the columnist David Brooks, New York Times, terrific columnist. I love his thoughts. And he said every year, in the spring of every year, we get all of these convocation speeches from celebrities and business leaders. And I bet you can tell me what most of them fall into the category of just a handful of messages. And it's like, this isn't an ending, commencement is a beginning, and we get you've got to fulfill your dreams and follow your passion, right?
If you find the job you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
You'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
There's so much of this dream fulfillment and passion pursuit, which I think has its value, but David Brooks had something in an article I read by him that I thought was so much more wise. And, why do we chase the dreams we do? Because maybe they're just the biggest dreams we have because we're on one part of the path. Mm-hmm. But at some point, we might encounter a problem. And so his challenge, and I think it's one that we all need to reflect on no matter where we are on our journey, is what's a problem you could help solve? What is it that is a challenge that affects people that you really believe you could add some value to? And I think if that's the question, what's the problem I could be part of the solution to? That's a much better question, because that one takes you down a little different path. It's not dream fulfillment. It's not about some selfish vision of how big you can be, but instead, how much purpose can you fulfill? And that's what I want to do. I want to fulfill a purpose. I just don't. I think I fulfilled some of it, right? But as long as there's breath and a sunrise ahead, maybe there's another one. I want to be open to it. So, the vision. It doesn't have to be a fixed thing.
How do you do that? How do you keep yourself open to that? I mean, that's a hard thing to do at times, because you feel like, hey, I'm a speaker, I'm I'm a humorist, or whatever. I mean, you think, and maybe she's a poet laureate, so she knows her past. She knows she's going to be president someday. I mean, who knows? But how do you keep yourself open to take the blinders off, if you will, and show that there's other things out there, there are other paths, there are forks in the road that come up, and you may want to take one of those forks?
Well, I think openness is, first of all, it's a personality trait. Openness is something but it's one that we can choose. We can choose to be more open. But I really think the answer to how do you do that is you got to stop. You got to keep caring about things. You've got to always care about things, because as long as your focus is inward, what do I want? What are my big dreams? What are my, I tell you what, we have an awful lot of people who are telling you that listen to your heart, you got to love yourself. I hear all these things, which I think are they've got good intentions. I don't know that they set most of us on a good path, because if we're constantly looking inward, that's a lonely place. I always think of it as the meaniverse. It's I'm at the center, and the meaniverse is the loneliest place that you can imagine, because it's all about what I want, and I'm constantly consulting what the emptiness is, maybe that I have in myself. Not many answers are within. The answers are when you start looking outward to say, hey, what are other people? What's their pain? How can I help alleviate that pain? Even if it's a pain for the moment, that something that I get a privilege to say that makes somebody laugh, and I go, you know what? For a moment, they were lifted out of their pain, and that had some purpose to it, right? But if I can also drop some value in there and say, hey, look, here's something to help you mitigate that pain going forward, then that's even better, right? But as long as I'm focused on me, I'm not going to get there, and I'm not going to be as effective. But when I focus on others, I'm looking at, hey, who's around me? What other people, what are they dealing with? What are their challenges? Can I be a solution to that? I've got a little bracelet that I came up with, and it was, I said, one of the programs that I was actually promoting at one time was wicked customer service, right? But it was spelled instead like an abbreviation, WCID. What can I do? And just let that question be your guide. In every situation, is there something that you could do, right? If somebody's hungry, can you feed it, right? If someone is hopeless, can you give them encouragement? If someone's feeling pain, is there anything you can do to alleviate it? And if someone's burdened, can you help carry some of it? I think that's, it's just a simple question. What can I do? And if that question is always before us, it changes everything, because the answer to that is always the fulfillment of purpose.
Wow. Yeah, great points. I mean, it kind of you've taken me back a little bit, grade school and all that. But then you mentioned the forks in the road and all that. So it just reminds me of when I was in grade school myself, and we would ride our bikes to school every day when it was nice out. Anyways, mom would let us. Yeah. So we would meet up, and the few of us from the neighborhood. We lived in the country, so there really was no neighborhood. Right. But I would ride a mile, and then I'd meet up with some other people, a couple of girls and a guy who we'd all go to school together. On the way to school, so it was about a 2 or 3 mile bike ride, and there was roads that we could have taken, but we always knew the fastest way to get there, so we just always went that way. Right down Wayne Road, and then we took a left on Greensburg Pike, and we did a jog, and then we went back to Wayne Road, and right into Wayne. So that was it. We never veered from that. But during that, there's some deep conversations that happened. But I got to a point where I understood that there was I didn't ever understand a deeper meaning at that point. But looking back on it now, I think that's where these deeper conversations started. Yeah. And the deep conversations that you started with me, I mean, that's where we need to be in order to be able to serve other people.
Yeah, and I love that, because that image of just the road you're traveling, and your road you travel, with others. There's that. My favorite stories are always the ones about journeys. Anyway, I've always been drawn to Huckleberry Finn, Wizard of Oz. They're journeys. And when you're on a journey, all kinds of things happen on a journey, and the people you travel with, there's a James Taylor song about, you remember his song, In My Mind, I'm Going to Carolina. There's a line in there that I've always loved. He says, with the holy host of others traveling around me. I love that line. That's a great line, because I think, there is a sacredness to the people that we go on this journey with, and even if it's a short one, like that trip to school.
Yeah.
What happened, I'm sure, over a period of time, that traveling together, you could have gotten there faster on a bus, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe your parents carpooled you. But without adults being around, without there being a seating chart to sit in, it took a while, right?
Yeah.
But every day you had little conversations. Every day you made little connections. And every day you grew closer, because you became this, you became something together that was a greater experience than what you were alone. Right. So,
I'm 53 now, and we're still friends, and we still talk about those bike rides.
Yeah. I mean, you built bonds of trust and understanding, and knowing that, you're looking out for each other. And you travel together. I just think there's a, in one of my favorite books I've mentioned to you is, I love Charles Dickens. I love, Christmas Carol. I know we're past that season, but there's a line in there where Fred, Scrooge's nephew, says, I've always thought of, this time of year as a good time, a time when we view our fellow, our fellow people as, what do you say, as fellow passengers to the grave, instead of a race of creatures bound on other journeys. And I think that's a great line. And it's, I think we need to ponder that a bit. We're all on this same journey. And we look at, okay, the people I'm traveling to school with, and became the friends that I've had now for, decades. But we're traveling in a much larger company than that. And the more we look at ourselves as part of a community, as part of traveling, we're going to the same destination. We're all headed kind of in the same direction on this path of time. But the more that we regard our fellow travelers on that, just wonderful things happen, and we become part of something that's bigger than ourselves. And I think that's something we all have to have. We all have to have, I've got to be part of something that's bigger than myself. Well, it starts by not just being yourself,
Right. Not looking inward. I mean, thinking of the other people, like you just said. I mean, the having that more outward, not existential, but I mean, extrinsic, I think is the right word.
Okay.
You're the English teacher. You could tell me.
Yeah. I think that's true. I mean, look at this pandemic we've been going through, and the message to everyone is we're all in this together, right? And sometimes we lose sight of that, when you realize you haven't left the house in 3 days, and I was like, was it Tuesday I put these sweatpants on? I can't even remember,
When's the last day I showered?
I know. And you look down, you kind of go like, oh, spaghetti. We had that on Wednesday. Yeah. Okay. Right. So,
yeah.
But, it's easy to feel disconnected. And yet there's never been an experience that we've been through that has been more a common experience than trying to get through this, because we're all worried about many of the same things. Now, that doesn't mean we process them the same. You know, we've seen the polarization, you know, but there's the potential there that we can be in this together and care about one another. And once we start caring about one another, then guess what? We start to solve problems.
Yeah. So that's a great point. In terms of solving problems, I mean, on that bike ride that we took, you know, I'm sure there were problems that came up. I'm sure there were flat tires. There were, you know, you put the cards in your spokes, you know, to hear them, to get them to make sounds. You know, there was probably issues with that. There was bike seats that didn't come up and didn't stay up. There was I had this bike. It was an orange bike. And it had it was beige colored banana seat.
Oh, banana seat. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I slipped off of one of those banana seats.
Oh.
Onto one of, and of course that, you know how you have moments, you said, where you things occur to you, and you know, you begin to question, why are things the way they are? And that's when I question, why do they have that bar on boys' bikes? What's
that makes no sense at all.
That up. Just a tip.
I don't get it. So yeah, there was problem solving to be done, and I'm sure that all of us experience problems in our own way and different times, but it's all about how we overcome them. So,
yeah,
what do you think about? I mean, you have problems. We all have problems in our life. How do you best confront your problems?
Well, of course, it all depends on what the problem is, but you know, the good thing, that's where I'm not great at solving all my own problems, and I think, you know, the point of your story was not how you got back and forth to school on your bike, but how you traveled together, and that became something that built relationships. But it's those same relationships that you build in all those small moments of going together that also give you a resource to solve problems that you might not have an answer to yourself. You know, we have the people that once we've had these bonds of trust, man, how much greater do we have as a capacity to meet the challenges? You know, if I have a flat tire, or somehow I crack up on my bike on that and the forks get bent, right? Mm-hmm. I still get to school because, you know what? I'll just buddy up on your banana seat, right? Right. Together. And so you have the capacity to solve more of the problems that just come up. It just, you know, and so the more you have these, the more you've done the little things, the more we've done the little things to create bonds of trust, the greater our own personal capacity to fulfill a purpose. Because now it's not just me, you know. Mm-hmm. We are, each one of us, not very capable. You know, we've heard people say, I'm just one person. Like, yeah, if you're just one person, you're really not going to be very effective, right? Right. But if you're just one person among a group of people with whom you have strong bonds of trust and understanding, and you know you have a common goal and a common thing that you're doing together, and you're on the journey together, and you're really connected, boy, you can do all kinds of things that a single person traveling can't. You know, so right. That's, you know, that's when the time we put in becomes the value that we get out, you know.
And I'll speak personally for this. I would say that the relationship you and I are building right now, working through these videos and, you know, having the conversations with people, is building that same sort of trust.
Yeah. Yeah, but ultimately, isn't that it? I mean, it really comes down to trust building. Mm-hmm. I was watching a piece this morning on the news where they were saying 29% of healthcare workers are having to be convinced to take the vaccine. You're thinking, man, they're on the front lines. They see this thing. And why in the world? But when they began to drill down a little bit, they said, okay, a lot of these folks are folks who are minorities, and they've got a history of not being dealt with squarely by the powers that be.
Yeah.
Sometimes they've even been used as sort of guinea pigs without consent to be injected with something just to see, back when, such things could go by without anybody discovering, And so we might think, I might think, having grown up with the privilege that I may not even be aware I have,
right,
that, hey, get with the modern times. These things wouldn't happen now, right? But I think also that's part of their family stories. That's part of their history, is to say, you know what, there's a reason not to trust. Now, when we lose trust, anything's possible, because any bad thing is possible, because what's negative. And I was doing a program earlier this week for an organization about trying to reduce complaint. Where's it come from? And one of the things that I shared with them is negativity, disinformation, lies are all more efficient travelers than positivity and facts and innovation and construction, right? We can break something down a lot faster than we can build it up. And so if there's a void of trust, right? What will fill it is suspicion and disinformation and lies, and those people saying, that's how they get you, right? And it holds everybody back. So
because that's what we look for. I mean, when we see a good-looking couple or whatever, we look for something in them that is negative. So we're drawn to try to diminish and make light, or just see the negatives in the. Why is that?
Well, I mean, part of it is kind of that's what at one time kept us alive. A lot of things that we have now that are things like pessimism and fight or flight, stress responses, are just leftover biological relics from a time when they really helped keep us alive. But now they've kind of outlived their usefulness, so we spend them on things that are not really threats, right? So, negative bias is something that at one time, look, if I was an optimist whistling through the jungle, right, in my caveman, our caveman ancestors going like, isn't it just a beautiful day? Soon, some saber-toothed tiger would be picking your loincloth out of his teeth, right? You had to be aware.
There's a visual I didn't need.
Whatever was negative around. That's left over, right? And so without the need for that to keep us alive, we instead aim it in directions where we look for the negative and disregard the positive as, well, sure, I'm supposed to be healthy. Well, sure, I'm supposed to be employed. Well, sure, my country is supposed to be, free and a democracy and all that.
Yeah.
And then you find that, not necessarily,
right.
And when people begin to just see only negatives, they sometimes don't take care of the things that are fragile. Our democracy is fragile. Our trust is very fragile with one another.
Right.
So we got to work on it all the time. It's just like, hey, look, you're on that bike. You get to coast once in a while, but you hit hills. Now I know you're from Northwest Ohio.
Right. There are no hills up there.
There are no hills. It's just a constant grind of pedaling because you're not.
Right. Yeah, we just pedal.
I know how that goes. But when you're on these hilly trails, I love bicycling. My wife and son and I, as soon as my wife retired from teaching, we went to the Trek store and got ourselves all bikes. Right? And we really have done that a lot. And we put on our second round of bikes, and we put on a lot of miles, mostly around the trails. And I love it because it's those moments together doing something. But you come down, a curving little trail toward a creek bed, and then you got to pedal and really put some effort. But if you stop pedaling, that terrain at some point levels out or it goes to an incline. And if you don't put in the work, you stop moving, right? And the pace of the other folks with you, they're slowed down because they got to wait on you, right?
Right.
So, I think there's so much there to mind, but it's just, then the journey itself, the journey is the point, isn't it? I mean, it's
absolutely.
You say it's like, and that day we got to school too, You didn't think about getting to school. You probably forgot about, every time you arrived. You didn't go like, hey, high five, destination met. No,
we just got to school.
We got to school, right? The thing you remember is the journey, and we had lots of good conversations, and we had a moment. Right. Remember that movie, Field of Dreams?
Yeah,
I love that movie. And when John Kinsella, is that his name? He's getting to play catch with his dad, right? Mm-hmm. But his dad, I think, doesn't really know exactly what's happening, right? He just has stepped out of this field of corn into this ball field. Mm-hmm. And, he's playing catch with his son, even though his dad's been dead for many years, right? And it's amazing. And he says to the character who owns the farm, he says, "Is this heaven?" And he says, "No, this is Iowa," right? I'm thinking that would not be a mistake I would make. I've been,
right.
But no offense, Hawkeyes.
Right.
But we were riding the bike one day, and I kept thinking of that because it was a morning, and it was just fresh, beautiful sunlight coming through the trees. And I thought, is this heaven? There's just a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Getting in the now, if we're traveling with the right folks, and we're really taking the time to enjoy the journey together, and we're keeping up with one another, pacing one another, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes we can forget about where we're going. We're on this journey together. Yeah, and that's a joyful thing in and of itself.
There's a lot of joy in that. I love it. Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, I always enjoy it.
I really appreciate it. There's our friend Kathy Benner's on.
Hey,
she's coming in from Florida today. She is actually from Canal Winchester, but she is a big bike rider as well. So she can relate to a lot of what you said. I'm sure. Yeah. So, but
near Canal, we go over 33 there. I remember that big bridge we hit. And I'm out of gas when I hit and then I look forward to that coasting down the other side of that long one that goes over the freeway.
That I'm sure that could be a problem. But anyway, I wanted to thank you for being on today, and also everyone else that's on listening. Please put in a hashtag live if you're listening live. If you're listening on replay, put in a hashtag replay. Tell me where you're coming in from, like Kathy Benner did, and then do me a favor, and in your timeline, please post a picture of you winking. Now, again, that winking doesn't mean you're making fun of me. The winking is to understand how important it is to know what makes you unique. So I know what makes me unique, and it's not my eye. What makes me unique is my positive personality and how I'm able to share my story with other people in order to help them have a better life. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea behind all these vision alignment shows and all the work that we do. So thank you, Dave. And Kathy's got some other things to say here. Yeah, right. Getting on the bikes later today. Very nice. Pinellas Trail.
Oh,
that's cool. And yes, thank you for coming in live, Kathy. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Kathy. Everybody that's online. If there's ever anything that we can do, by all means, leave me a comment. Let us know what it is that we can do, and we'll help you in any way that we can. So that's the whole idea, and we'll continue to do that as best we can. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And as always, keep one eye on the road. Bye.